Hello there, Tien here. You're listening to another episode of the Real Talk with Tien podcast, and this is episode number 7. Welcome, I am so glad you're here. In this episode, we're talking about pricing, and the question we're tackling in this episode is, am I doing it right? The quick answer is yes. Well, folks, that's it. That's the end of the podcast. Cue end music. See you next week. All right, just kidding. I couldn't resist. Before we jump into it, I want to make this disclaimer that this podcast is not advice. I am just sharing with you some things to think about as you make your own decisions. This topic of pricing is a really tricky topic, and without knowing your particular situations, what goals you are trying to achieve with your business, I really can't advise with this very general podcast episode. And I want this point to be super clear because I don't want you saying Tien said and then you mess up your business, right? You do what is best for you to achieve your goals. As we go through this episode, I'll present some of what I'm seeing in the industry, different scenarios I've come across and experienced myself, and lay out some solution possibilities to help you draw your own conclusions. Because the truth is, this is your business, and you get to do what works best for you. So, while there are no right or wrong way to price, there are different pricing models available that might work best for you based on what you want to achieve. If you'd like some help to figure out which pricing model might work best for your business, please feel free to book a one-on-one coaching session with me. I'd love to work through it all with you to help figure out the best pricing structure for you and your business. To book a coaching session, go to tienconneton.com/coaching for more details. Okay? So let's get into it. Like I said, pricing is a huge topic, and there are many different approaches you can take as a designer, tech editor, dyer, what have you. I put out a question on Instagram in June asking you to share your pricing questions. Boy, did you have some fantastic questions, like should I charge hourly or flat rate for tech editing services? I know, good one, right? Or another one that was, I'm a new designer, dyer, tech editor, should I charge less? And then there was another one asking about the pay what you can pricing model, which is a very interesting one for our industry. But you get the point of the different types of questions people are asking about pricing. As you can see, pricing is a really hot topic. A lot of people have questions about different things. But let's be clear right at the top here. This episode isn't intended to tell you what you should charge or even to provide definitive answers to your questions. You have to make those decisions based on your own business. This episode is not to give you advice because that's just not possible without knowing your specific business models and your goals. Instead, what I intend to do here is to give you some framework to help you to think about what you might want to price your offer, because this is your business. This is your pattern, and you get to set the price. And just remember, price is never perfect or even permanent. You can see what works, what doesn't work. You can pivot and make adjustments whenever you want. So don't be afraid to just try something, and if it doesn't work, scrap it, try again. All right. So, quick backstory of why I'm tackling this topic now, though it was slated to go into season 2 of the podcast. The reason is that lately I've been seeing post after post on Ravelry and Facebook forums around this topic. I'm seeing designers frustrated at not making sales and repeatedly hop into the price as the culprit for slow sales. That the reason for the lack of sales is because their prices are wrong. Maybe too high, too low, whatever. In some of these group conversations, there were talks about slashing prices and having promotions randomly to drum up sales. I even saw someone saying that they were willing to run a random sale offering 60 to 75% off just to generate more sales. All right. Some of you might not like math, but let's work through this together. Now, if we do the math, sure, the number of units sold might go up. More people will come in because it's a sale, the prices are lower. But the profit margin will be so low or even non-existent, right? Because you're making more sales, but the total sales is so much lower. Plus, running sales all the time is just training your consumers to only buy when there is a sale. Case in point, Bed Bath & Beyond. Who goes there without a coupon or a sale on, right? And I mean, as I read these comments and hear the frustrations, it became super clear that many designers were focusing on just the wrong things when it comes to talking about pricing. And that's why when I asked the question, pricing, am I doing it right? The answer had to be a heck yeah. But don't go just yet. While the price might be right, your approach is all wrong, because the truth is, price is only one piece of the customer's decision to buy. What I mean is that your audience, your potential customer, has a long list of reasons to buy what you're offering, and an even longer list of reasons not to buy. And the price is only one part of that equation. When you talk about pricing and no one buying your pattern, no one is buying your yarn, no one's booking your tech editing service, take a step back and look at what you're selling as a whole beyond just the price. And I don't mean just pattern or the yarn or the tech editing service. I mean, what is the value proposition of the pattern, of the yarn, of the service? A pattern is more, or it should be more than just written instructions to go from yarn and hook and needles to a piece of finished object, right? Same with the yarn. It's more than just color on a string. What the consumer is getting is more than just instructions in the case of a pattern. And if you want to really drill down more into the value proposition, the benefits of your design, go back to season 1, episode 5. And the title of that episode is How to Talk About Your Design, where we talk more in depth about the benefits rather than the features of your work. And that will give you a better framework of what the value proposition of your work might be. So instead of wondering if the price is too high, the question really should be, what is the value? What is the benefit your design, your yarn, your service is providing to your audience? And that value proposition could be providing a wider range of sizes in your pattern, or it could be providing more yardage in your yarn. It could be providing charting and schematic services to your tech editing clients, right? So it could be a wide range of things to just make your work more extraordinary and just beyond just the simple. Okay? Additionally, adding value could be writing a blog post about the inspiration for your design, your yarn, or a case study on your most recent tech editing client, right? It could be, if you're a designer, it could be talking about why you made the sock toe up versus top down, right? Or if you're a tech editor, you could be adding more value to your clients by writing blog posts about different things that knitters or designers could come across, that they can just fix themselves before bringing it to you, or different things that they could look out for, or checklists, or things like that. It's providing more value. So essentially, you want to share the value of the thing beyond just what they receive, and just to concentrate more on the benefits of what your offer provides your customers, your potential audience. The price you place on the design, the tech editing service, your yarn, all tells a story. It's telling us if you're like a Walmart versus a Target versus a Saks Fifth Avenue. It tells the story of the quality and worth. And let's be clear, it's not your worth that we're talking about, because you, the human person, you are priceless. But rather, it's the worth of what you provide, the service, the pattern, the thing you make, right? Does that make sense? And don't assume your customers can't afford your price just because you probably wouldn't pay $8 or $9 for a shawl pattern. And that's because you can design those things for yourself. You wouldn't buy a pattern for a shawl that you could probably design yourself, because you can design it yourself. But your ideal customer maybe can't design or don't have the time to figure it out, so they buy your pattern. You've done all the work. So something I really want you to think about, write it down, repeat it, look at it every day, is that you are not your ideal customer. And I want you to drill that in, because I want you to see that the work that you put out there, someone like yourself might not gravitate to it, but somebody else who can't do what you're doing will love it and pay money for it. And we want to be super clear about this point, because I see it hold too many of us behind. The fact of the matter is that people spend money on what matters to them most. So you can't assume you know for sure they can't afford your $6 or $7 pattern. Because I've seen, and I'm sure you've seen too, where folks complain about a $3 or a $4 pattern and how expensive it is, blah, blah, blah. But we'll run out to get the latest iPhone, spending hundreds of dollars without even batting an eye. So that's something else to consider when you're thinking about price and the value of something versus your pattern or something else. Because there will be people out there who complain about your price, and if you are not confident in the value you provide, then you will back down when they complain. But if you are confident in the value, then stick with it and keep showing the value of your work. Keep showing that the benefits of what you offer. Because you need to believe and own your expertise and value, or no one else will. So, if your design is on point, and I mean it's a great design, it's edited, it's tested, it's great, and it's priced in line with others in the industry, and you're still not getting sales, then sis, it's not the price. It's likely that you're not showing the value of what you offer and the urgency to get it now, because you haven't proven that this thing you're offering is a priority. So let's stop treating our work as just straight transactions without taking into consideration the value propositions. Next, let's look at some interesting pricing models we're seeing in the industry and what they might mean for you. The first is the different price point offering, and that can look like offering one thing at a higher price if it's more time consuming to produce, and another thing that is less time consuming to produce at a lesser price. For example, that can be seen as a sweater that takes longer and is more expensive to produce. You'd price that as more expensive or at a higher price than something that is simple, like a hat, that is faster to make and uses less yarn. So can you see that how we we are tiering the prices for those two separate items based on the amount of time and energy it takes to make. This example can be used for a dyer. For example, you can use this dye-in self-striping versus variegated. The self-striping obviously will be more time intensive rather than a variegated or a semi-solid or something like that. Okay, so does that make sense? Another pricing model that we're seeing, quite a bit of people are talking about it now in our industry, is to pay what it's worth. Now, this model is not new at all. It's been around in other industries, in the tech industry, for a long time. And it's interesting seeing it here in the fiber industry. So it's pretty self-explanatory. You're allowing your consumer to pay what they think the thing is worth. So essentially, you're offering the consumer the option to pay what they think the pattern is worth. And how I've seen it work that is really effective and seem to work for both the creator and the consumer is having a minimum base price that the creator is satisfied with. And what I mean with that is, for example, a sweater pattern. This designer could probably charge typically $7 or $8 for the pattern, using this pay what you're worth, pay what you can pricing model, instead of saying you can just pay whatever, where you set a minimum price of $3 or $4, a price that you would be, as a designer, be comfortable selling that pattern for. So you wouldn't set like the base to be whatever the consumer want, because they might say, oh, I only want it for 50 cents or whatever. So set a minimum that you as a consumer can live with. And then hopefully, other people who can afford to pay more and generally like your design, your aesthetic, and so on, will tend to pay more than what a sweater pattern would typically go for, say $10, $11, $12. So that could help to offset some of that difference. Does that make sense? If not, please reach out and we can talk more about this in the comments on Instagram. So find a post for this episode and we can have more chats about it. Okay? All right. So let's wrap up the pricing conversation. When it comes to pricing, the simple truth is that you can charge whatever you want, but really consider what that price truly means. What does the price say to your audience? What does it say about you? Is it saying that you are confident in your pricing decisions? Is it saying that your design is tested and was tech edited? Is it saying that you're a designer with a capital D with experience who know what she's doing? Or is it saying that you're just playing around and this is just a hobby? You might be around tomorrow. Okay? Or is it saying that you are inclusive, that you know that price can shut some folks out and you are taking actions against capitalism and working towards inclusion? Whatever your reason is, set the price that is right for you. Maybe you like the pay what you want pricing model, or some other models other than what we're seeing in our industry. Don't be afraid to get paid for what your work is worth based on your level of experience. Because let's be real, that passion can turn to hate real fast when you're not making any money and you're burnt out. Okay? So the bottom line is that there are pros and cons to all pricing models. The key is to figure out what your goals are, who you're serving, and is it sustainable? Because setting a price that is inclusive doesn't matter if you can't afford to continue to be around designing, tech editing, dyeing yarn, etc. You can't serve everyone. So niche down to an audience that wants what you're offering for the price you offer. And the final thing I'll say is that you shouldn't listen to me or anyone else about what you should price your offer. Especially don't listen to random folks on the internet in groups and forums who are not where you want to go, or your weird Uncle Randy that's never had a business but is suddenly an expert on running a business. Because none of us know your specific situation. And as we've discussed, there are no one way to price. All that matters is your intention. What is it and what is right for you? And that you're able to achieve your goals. Remember, you got this. And like I mentioned before, if you're struggling with pricing your design, your tech editing service, your yarn, whatever, I'd love to work with you in a one-on-one coaching session. For more information, go to tnconneton.com/coaching. I'll have a link in the show notes for more information. But this is a place that we can talk one-on-one to really figure out your next move. And if I can help you, I'd really love to try. I hope you were able to take away something from this episode. If anything I've talked about resonated with you, please reach out on Instagram at designbytn and leave a comment in the post for this episode. Did you enjoy this episode? Please leave a rating, review, and hit subscribe. And share this episode with 5 of your crafty friends that you think might need to hear it. I can't wait to talk to you again soon. Bye for now.